Sup, Ryu here for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Council. It's that time again, the time to revisit the list of Ryu that is the top 10 countdown of the top 10 meta decks for October to January. Now, the reason just till January is because I want to take time and see exactly how this format will adapt into where it's going, just so we can, go from there. If my voice sounds a little bit off, which to me it does, that's because I'm still recovering from the flu and it's all in there in the chords. So anyways, guys, let's get this list underway without wasting any more time. Number 10, Mermail. Bring that water because Mermails are about to adapt. I want to say Mermail Lantean to be fair because it's not just Mermails anymore. The deck's able to not only OTK, but now have some kind of backup plan. If you got Raigeki and some way to lock him out, they have Treat Toad. The deck's always been able to drop Bahamut Shark, but there was really never a complete usage to the point that it was worth maintaining into the extra deck and giving that spot up. And now there is. With Totally coming out, not too far off from now, I think we're just under about a week and a half from the actual set being at Sneak. You're going to be able to include in your Mermails, have that OTK power, have that fallback power. That is the beautiful Tree Toad. Or Totally in this case. Thanks, Konami. Thanks for that. My number 9 is Zing. I think they're a fantastic rogue deck. They got a good matchup against Mermails, even with Totally, and that's part of the reason why they were higher on the list. They have a Solemn Judgment coming out. They have the new Synchro coming out. New support plus an already fantastic rogue deck equals something that we'll probably be seeing. Now, why did I put them on the meta list if I'm just talking about Zing? Because I'm also talking about Zing Metalfoes, which I think will be the less go-to version, more explosive, and not the standard edition. I think there's going to be different variants of Metalfoes, and I think Zing one will be something that people will grasp to, but will it be something that will maintain its, quote-unquote quota of being a meta deck? I don't know. I can't really say because it just really seems easy to counter when you have kaijus and everything else. Just my opinion. But time will tell. I still think Zings alone are a fantastic deck, so that's why they're number 9. My number 8 is Kozmo. It's still a fantastic deck. They still have limitations, but pretty much they carry over from the last format. Anything that they could have done before, they could do again. The only reason they're falling out of flavor is because there's more interesting decks to play, more powerful decks. You're not going to see Kozmo topping nearly as much as you used to, but I think in the back of my mind, you will still see the deck topping in some sort of way, some variant, something that keeps the deck going. That's just how they are. They're relentless. They're a great deck. I can't take that away from them. I'm not a big fan of Kozmos, but you gotta understand their power that they bring to the table. They're pretty much another version of Zing where they float and sting like a bee, and it's hard as hell, and it hits hard. So that's why they're number 8. Number 7. Get your salt ready. Here comes Majespecters at number 7. Able to stop everything, and the addition of Ties of the Brethren, of course, with the whole, we're going to make Totem Bird stop your spells and traps. Oof. This deck just gives me heartburn thinking about it, it's complete honesty, because Ties of the Brethren just makes an already fantastic deck 10 times faster and even better than it's been before. This is the pendulum deck of the format, in my opinion. This is the one we're going to see the most out of. Because when you summon Raccoon, and you play that Ties of the Brethren, you get your kitty cat, and wherever other, I know there's no level 3, I think it's a toad, you're going to get 3 searches in a turn. And just, that's all 2 cards. That's kind of dumb by itself. The deck doesn't need to focus on special summoning, so they're pretty much an anti-meta choice. And while they're not too expensive, they are fantastic to pretty much lock out, especially with Totally coming out and being around. Bait out the Treat Toad, or the Totally in this case, put up your Pendulum Scales, and go from there. Yes, they suffer the same weakness as Metalfoes and any other Pendulum deck, which is basically play freaking spell card on board, and that basically anti-spell fragrance, and that's gonna be game. That's just. But the deck can run Secret Village, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a little bit half asleep at the moment, and just the near sheer ability of having all the counter trap cards, all the floodgates that they do, and all the different ways you can play the deck, it's nuts, and that's why it gets its spot. Number 6 is a deck I think that we won't see highly topping, but I think it's going to be really powerful and under the radar, which is Darklords. We're not that far off from it. We're pretty much 2 weeks out from Invasion of Vengeance, and after those 2 weeks is Darklords. I think it's like a week and a half, 2 weeks. No, it's 2 weeks. But then we get to Darklords, and Darklords come out, they take over, they don't really take over. They're pretty much going to be the fill everything in the graveyard, play the graveyard kind of deck. So really easy to side against because they are just focused on using dark monsters, so Shadow Imprisoning, GG. But I think for the TCG, they're going to be one of those things that you got to keep your eye on. They're going to be the ones that you don't really expect to top, and when they do, you're going to be like, holy shit, they topped. That's just my opinion. Again, Google the word opinion if you are not satisfied with my opinion. Number 5, frogs. Now, when I say frogs, I'm not just talking about totally .deck. I'm talking about what were frogs and what they will now become, which is totally .deck. I think that plus a Kaiju engine is going to be fantastic of a deck because Kaiju is going to be splashed with everything, totally can just constantly recycle itself. And then you have this mixture of all the different variants, and I guess you could put Hero Frogs in this category too, as well as everything else, because you're going to see a lot of Treat Toad .deck, freaking decks popping up over the next couple of weeks. There's not a reason that wouldn't happen because Bahamut Shark is an enabler that allows decks that can use level 4 water monsters into totally, and I know I'm saying Treat Toad and totally because I know some people that are not quite up to speed that's the TCG name or don't want to even say it. I'm right there with you. Treat Toad is the way to go. But in all honesty, we're going to see frog.deck. And I think that's pretty much why I probably put it here. If I'm thinking right, yeah, that's exactly why I put it here. Because you're going to see it happening. You're going to see frog variants every which way that people can put it in and throw it out on the board and have a walking solemn with a bunch of back row. We're going to see that happen. My number 4 pick is one that a lot of you and myself included, which would just basically come out of the meta scene already, which is PK Fire. Now, it's not the PK side that we're kind of tired of, it's the Burning Abyss side. And again, that's not to offend any Burning Abyss player, it just is what it is. The deck has been shining for the longest of time. The deck still is fantastic with Beatrice at 1 and putting 2 back row. That's still extremely hard for a few decks to get over unless they top deck Twin Twister, or could play the Pot of Desires to get to the Twin Twister, and that's not always the case. And when that's not always the case, and you can just stop plays and disrupt them, yeah, it is what it is. I'm not taking anything away from the deck, but Phantom Knights with Burning Abyss makes the deck even dumber, and of course there's variants for that, so there's plenty of ways to go. The deck can use Anti-Spell Fragrance, which gives it a huge advantage across the board because this entire format right now is really, really set on spell cards to kickstart your engines. Majespecters are a prime example with Ties of the Brethren, Blue Eyes with all of its spell cards, ABC just mainly Union Hanger, that's like pretty much the biggest one. And I guess with Frogs, Mori agreed all the draw power to get to that whole thing. And Darklords is a prime example. I think Kozmo is pretty much the only thing. Kozmo, Yang Zing, and like Mermail are the only things that are really not affected by anti-spell fragrance, to be completely fair. My number 3 pick is going to surprise a few people. It's Blue Eyes. I think we're going to, like I said before, I think we're going to see this falling out of flavor very shortly. With the rise of Metalfoes being at full support, with the rise of ABCs being at main power, and basically being able to counter Blue Eyes without too much of a struggle, I think it's going to be fairly certain to say, and okay to say, that Blue Eyes meta time as a deck is coming to a close. It'll still see tops. I'm not calling it bad. Relax, people. I'm not. What I'm saying is, its spotlight in the meta is about to come to an end. It's about to come down from its like plateau of being the best deck of the format right now, or the one that you see topping the most. That's going to go to other decks. That's just what's going to happen. Blue Eyes is going to have a much harder time with things that are popping up, namely Treat Toad when they hit your most important engine card, or just anything that really you can't jump over or you get locked out of. ABCs have the Dragon Buster, and then if you use alternative whatnot, they could just split the parts. And of course the rank 4 side of that whole thing goes with it on that spectrum, and it gets really dumb at the same time. By the way, if you hear background noise, we're recording in the reptile room yet again, so just saying. But Blue Eyes is still a fantastic deck, not calling it bad by any means, so you could stop writing that hate comment. Just saying the truth. My number 2 and my number 1, I guess you could put it in whatever position you prefer. For me, I'm putting one over the other only because it's current right now. And the other one, I don't know, maybe just my personal experience, it's easier to stop, dead in its tracks than it is for the other. Again, my opinion, if you disagree, respect each other, that's it. Metalfoes. I put this at number 2 because it's either number 1 or number 2. I think we're going to see a format of just ABC and Metalfoes for a little while, with random tops and Blue Eyes, PK Fire, Majespecters, everything else on the list, like I said. I think what it comes down to is Metalfoes' biggest counter is Anti-Spell Fragrance. That just stops the deck. You pop the skill, I chain Anti-Spell Fragrance, we shake hands, it's pretty much done. ABC's counter is Kaiju Sea Turtle, System Down, Winter Cherries, and you look at Metalfoes, and Metalfoes are really not affected by that Winter Cherries. They're only affected by that one card. So it's a little bit easier, and that's most of the reason why I think some people are going to say Metalfoes would get the overall number 1 pick for them. For me, it's a little bit different. For me, I've played against Metalfoes using ABCs. I haven't played against ABCs using Metalfoes too much as I've done the reverse. But Metalfoes going against an established board of ABC, maybe it's my lack of experience, is a little bit harder for me to counteract. When I have ABC and the Metalfoe player already has a complete setup board, I'm able to counteract that board at a much easier pace, even though the Kryn is on there and I have the Anti-Spell Fragrance at the ready to go after he already established. That's just my opinion on the whole situation, so you could put both of these at number 1, if you want to really tie it, but again, it is what it is. I'm going to put ABC at number 1 because rank 4 engine, because they're going to prove themselves, to say the least, to really be the top cut that is the meta deck to beat. Get your System Downs, your Winter Cherries, your Kaiju Sea Turtles. Those are the 3 most powerful cards to use against this deck, to be completely honest. It's the best way of dealing with them. But keep in mind, they also have the rank 4s, so Flying Sea can come in as well. But again, we're not talking about a guide to your site, which is tomorrow. ABCs are my pick for number 1 of the meta deck for the format up till January. The only reason I left out to January is because I'm still doing my research on deities and everything else that's coming out, because Comic-Con New York did give us tons of things to look at. And not everything's spoiled quite yet, and we don't know if we'll get a ban list from now to January. We may get one in January, or they may wait till March, and that's pretty much why this will go into January. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching. It means the world to me that you took time out of your day, and I just only ask one last thing, because it helps the channel grow, and I know it's stupid, everyone says it, but trust me, you can Google search it. It helps with the algorithm of YouTube if you like the video, and you comment, and you subscribe for more. The subscribe part's mainly so you don't miss out on videos, but everything else is so we actually get out there more, so if this is your first time viewing, you can help someone else see one of our videos by doing the same. We appreciate it. We thank you, and you have a good night. I'm going to go rest my voice now. See you guys later. Peace.